All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Down the Stretch. It's that time of the week again. We're doing our college football betting picks. This is the fourth week that we will be doing this. So far, we're 3 weeks in. We've missed a couple weeks, but we're back and we're here to stay with consistency all the way up until bowl season. So, with that being said, we have a special guest, as you can see on the show today, Mr. DC, Mr.
Up, boys?
AGR. So,
Oh
how many
yeah.
picks do you have this week, Dill?
I got two picks and I got a lock of the week for you guys. So
All right,
looking
so
good.
we're fading
All
all of
right.
his picks. That's the trick
Yeah.
to
You
that's the
gotta
trick
fade
Trade of
to
the
me,
week.
man.
Trade
Gotta
of the
fade
week.
me.
All right, so just some housekeeping stuff before we get into the picks. Yeah, I mean Garv, his total record's now 10-9 after this week, and 1-2 for Mortal Locks. He went 3-2 this past week, and his Mortal Lock unfortunately missed the Oregon State game.
Oregon
Um,
State fucking broke my heart, man.
yeah, DC
Jeez.
knows about that. You
Yeah.
tailed, right?
I tailed him.
Yeah.
First tail and didn't work out. We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and then I'm 14-18, 1-2 on Mortal Locks, which that's bad. Down a lot of units in this. I think I have my best weeks when I don't record. So, I mean, I guess that says something about my lack of clutchness. So, yeah.
Fade Rick? Question mark.
Huh?
Fade Rick? Question mark.
I mean, Fade Rick's the most profitable thing in all of betting right now.
Really. I'm
I
on
guess.
I'm on a cold streak right now, so I don't know. Fading me is pretty good, pretty good.
All right. Yeah, so we're gonna get into some picks. I have this week, I have two, three, four. I have five picks and a mortal lock. DC already told you how many picks he has, and then Garv, how many picks do you have this week?
I have four in a lock. Um, yeah, I mean, this week I think he's like compared to last week, he's definitely a little bit underwhelming just in the slate. Like last week we had a bunch of great games, a bunch of big rank showdowns. So it was like
Yeah,
we'll
there's
see.
not as many really good. Yeah, there's not as much really good ranked games and a lot of games that mean something for the college football playoffs, so it's a little bit harder to get excited. But I think there's some good upset potential this week, which is interesting. And yeah, so with that, we'll get into our picks. Garv, if you want to start us off this week, you can list them all off and then leave your lock of the week for the end, and we'll go through those at the end.
Yeah, so to start off, Alabama -17 against Mississippi State. Um, Bama's obviously gonna have a bounce back game. Saban's gonna blow the fuck out of Mississippi State. It's gonna be ridiculous. Bama's obviously gonna have a lot of like bad feelings about losing to A&M, and there's like I think there's a stat that's like majority of Saban's national championships are with a one-loss team. Only two undefeated teams have won national championship under Saban, so Saban's definitely gonna like make sure that the team doesn't slip up. Bama does have a little bit of a up and down defense, but I think they'll end up pulling through because it is Mississippi State. And then my second pick is UTEP +7 against Louisiana Tech. LA Tech has a bunch of QB injuries, and UTEP is also 6-4 in their last 10 against the spread. And then now I have some questionable ones. I mean, I'm having a little bit. I'm gonna have to dig deep in a little bit. Get like really just dig deep in the luck jar this week. Syracuse +14 versus Clemson. I think the line is now +13.5. Clemson's offense isn't that good. DJ Uyunglele, is that his last? Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, he's been really underwhelming. Just like Clemson offense has been really slow, not really good to start. And Syracuse is 5-1 against the spread. So then now like that also leads to another one. Cal +14 versus Oregon. Oregon also is dealing with a lot of problems, a lot of injuries with Oregon's offensive coordinator even being out this week with some medical problems. And I think their starting running back just did get injured for the season. And Cal is also coming off a bye week, and Oregon is also 1-5 against the spread in their last six. So those are my four for the week.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on the Oregon pick, obviously you mentioned CJ Verdell, the guy who ran all over Ohio State in that
Yeah,
upset win. He's out for the year with a knee injury. And then, as you also mentioned, Joe Moorhead, the really good OC that left Penn State a few years ago. He was here with the big offense when they had Trace McSorley and Barkley and Godwin and all that, and they were the number one offense in the Big Ten. That's what they had. That's what they have now, and that's a big loss for Oregon, especially an offense that already isn't great throwing the football. They need his creativity in their game plan, and I like that pick. Dylan, if you want to go ahead, you want to go with your
Oh, yeah, I was
picks and
just
then
gonna
leave
say,
your lock.
you mentioned it there, but I was gonna say on the Oregon game, yeah, they were running all over Ohio State that game. Like when we watched it, and like when you take that key factor out, like they start to fall apart. Then you said the offensive coordinator is also like out, which is also another big part of
Yeah.
the game plan. So it'll be see how they plays out.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Dylan, if you want to give us your picks and then leave your lock of the week as we do that at the very end of the segment.
All
So
right. First game going to the Big 12, Michigan State versus Indiana. Obviously, Michigan State has this high-powered offense. You know, they're all like the running back Kenneth Walker, the third. He's just going off. He has like
leads the country in rushing yards.
yeah, I know. In his last couple games versus Rutgers, he had 233 rushing yards and a touchdown. Like he also went for a 94-yard rushing touchdown, which is pretty insane. He
Yeah.
was having a great game. And then you go on Michigan's defense. I'm sorry, Indiana's defense. And I see there's a lot of injuries, man. Like that's one thing I was looking at. Right now they have two DBs who are questionable for the game Saturday with undisclosed injuries. And the big thing with Indiana is that they need their defense. They rely on it. Obviously, Michael Penix Jr. It's not really. He's like also a little hurt. So I mean, like man, like.
I mean, yeah. I mean, something to note with the
yeah.
two DBs you mentioned that are out. Michigan State's wide receiver, I think his name's I think it's Josh Naylor, but something Naylor. He had 221 yards receiving last week. So
yeah, so
interesting to
that
have
can be a
two
good
DBs
game.
out.
So what I think is gonna happen is I think Michigan State's gonna cover at 4.5. The line's pretty low, but I mean, I just don't think that the defense is strong enough, and they're also very injury prone. So I just think that Michigan State's gonna cover.
Okay.
And then my next game is Cincinnati versus UCF. UCF also is like one of those teams that's they're unranked right now, but they have a really good offense. Like they're averaging like 30 something points a game, and it's really gonna come down to the defense for Cincy. Cincy's obviously a really great team. Once again, they have like Heisman Watch on the team. Their offense is also once again great, but it's gonna come down to the defense. UCS has to outscore Cincy on offense because I don't think they're getting a lot of defensive stops. So we'll see how that game goes. Yeah. Also, that's my two picks.
All right.
Well,
Yeah,
pass
we'll
it
be
on to
back with
Raul.
the mortal locks. We'll all do our
Yeah.
locks at the end here. So yeah, as I get into it here, I'm gonna go my first pick, Texas minus 4.5. I mean, obviously Texas is very not back after that loss to Oklahoma last week. I know it makes you feel some type of way because Oklahoma covered for you, Dome. But
Yeah.
Texas played pretty well in that game. Casey Thompson looked really good, and he looked like the high recruit that he was brought in as. And Texas sneakily averages 44.5 points per game and 480 yards of offense, which is fifth best in the FBS. So that's an elite offense. The defense, obviously, as we saw, can give up a lot of points in a hurry. Not very good against the run. But Oklahoma State is a team that at times has struggled offensively because their quarterback, Spencer Saunders, has not played fantastic at times. He's kind of off and on. He's inconsistent. So I do like Texas to cover the minus 4.5 here. Important stat is Texas is 8-0 against Oklahoma State when playing them at home as the favorite. So Texas to cover for sure. Next pick, Dylan just mentioned this. I have Michigan State to cover minus 4.5. Fresh off a bye week, I mean, Indiana does get this game at home against Michigan State. Nothing really went right for Indiana before the bye week against Penn State. Mike Penis Jr. hurt himself and his AC joint. That's not great. So we don't even know if he's going to play this week. He's doubtful. They only average 300 yards per game, which when you hear that number, 300 yards sounds like a lot, but for a whole game, that's not great, especially when someone like Kenneth Walker is running for 220 yards per game by himself. Yeah, so Indiana's down to a backup. Michigan State has some really talented guys that are really emerging as like these big playmakers for a high-powered offense now. And also, Indiana's 1-5 against the spread this year. Important stat to note. While Michigan State is 5-1 or 4-1, sorry, against the spread.
Yeah.
So take the Spartans.
I just want to mention something real quick. Even though Indiana is 2-3, their three losses are Penn State, Cincy, and the third one was Iowa. So I mean, they're all like quality losses, but I mean, like we haven't really seen them play like a team like
True that we haven't seen them play anybody close. They're just getting blown
yeah,
out. And even the game I'll look it up right now actually. Indiana, they played I think it was a group of 5 team, and they played them close, and they had to, who was it? Yeah, they played Western Kentucky and only won by 2. They needed a
yeah.
last second. It actually wasn't last second, but Western Kentucky was making a comeback in that game, and they ended up stopping them. But that's not great. Western Kentucky isn't a fantastic team. Yeah, so I'm going to keep it moving. Garv, you mentioned this earlier, Alabama minus 16 and a half. I really only have one thing written down for this game, revenge. Nick Saban's going to have the boys ready to go. I like Alabama minus 1,000,000 this week. I don't think there's any way they lose, and there's definitely no way they don't win by 2 touchdowns and a field goal, 17. So Alabama, pretty easy pick. Then I have San Diego State. I picked San Diego State last week. They covered for me. Their offense looks really good. They run the ball really well, around 200 yards per game, and they've scored at least 31 points in 4 straight games, while their defense has allowed 28 points in the last 3 weeks combined and is only giving up 50 yards on the ground. So anytime you can stop the run and not have to crowd the box too much, that really does help your football team. And the Aztecs are now 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 games. That includes a few games from last year. And yeah, I think they're going to win this game comfortably. So back the Aztecs minus 7. And then the last pick I have before we get into the Mortal Locks is Navy plus 10.5. They're playing Memphis this week, and Memphis does come in with some quality wins against SEC teams like Mississippi State. But they have taken some losses to some Group 5 teams, namely Temple, Tulsa, and UTSA. Temple not being a great loss makes them look bad. And they get to play Navy this week. Navy is an interesting team because I think any game that you play against like a service academy is interesting because they run the triple option and the spread option and the speed option, whatever you want to call it. And obviously they don't have like the most dynamic like quarterback and receivers, but the option game is always difficult to defend once it starts to get moving. And yeah, I mean, the Navy defense is pretty good, only giving up 330 yards per game. But they do give up 32.5 points per game, which is one of the worst in the FBS. But good news is Memphis's offense is a little questionable, only averaging 350 yards of offense and 21 points per game. So yeah, look for Memphis. I don't think they're going to win this game, dominate this game, but I think Memphis is going to win this game. I don't think they're going to dominate. And so 10.5 is too many points against a team like Navy that's going to try to slow the game down. So yeah, we're going to move along here to our lock of the weeks. I'll go first since I just finished mine. I have South Alabama minus 3.5. Big Sunbelt guy. Call me Mr. Sunbelt. 3-1 betting with the Sunbelt. We're gonna stay with the Sunbelt. There's an old saying: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Southern Alabama minus 3.
We're just gonna skip over Appalachian State last night.
Yeah, we're gonna skip over. South Alabama minus 3. It's not a great pick, by the way.
Never
happened. Never happened. Yeah, short-term memory when you bet. It'll take South Alabama is number 1 in the nation in third down stops, which I think is an important stat against the Georgia Southern team, which is very limited on offense with a lack of really elite or good speed on the outside. And also, South Alabama's offense has put up over 30 points in every game this year, which is really important to note against the Georgia Southern team that can be stopped if you can stop the ground game. And yeah, I think South Alabama, they're good at getting off the field on third down. That's the biggest part of playing defense. So I like South Alabama. Minus 3 means it's not too many points for them to cover. And they've been covering machines this year, covering 5 out of 6 games. So yeah, Garv, go ahead. You can go with your lock.
Yeah, well, we'll save DC for our best for last.
Yes.
Yeah, so my lock of the week is Ole Miss minus 2.5. I just think the line is way, way too low for Ole Miss versus Tennessee. Like in general, just Ole Miss has a crazy, crazy firepower offense. Like they sling the ball. Matt Corral, obviously one of the Heisman candidates. I just think it's kind of a no-brainer. I don't know if it's a trap. Vegas might just be on me, but yeah, I just think it's a no-brainer. Ole Miss minus 2.5, hammer it.
Yeah, I mean it's a really what's the word I'm looking for? It's a really contrasting style of offenses that are going up against each other. You have a high powered, let's sling it all around the yard. Every receiver is pretty good. And then you have an offense in Tennessee, which is under new coach Josh Heupel, very ground game based and play action based. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes. Um, Tennessee loves to run the football. If you make Joe Milton throw the ball, you look pretty good. Joe Milton is not a very good quarterback, and we've known that since Michigan days. So, yeah, I like that pick a lot. I probably will take that pick as well. All right, DC, what are we fading
Cool.
this week?
Save the best for last. All right, so we're going Arkansas minus 3.5 on your book. This has probably 4.5.
Who are they playing? Are they playing Texas?
They're playing Auburn. All right, boys? I don't know where we got Texas from, man. Yeah. So my thoughts going through this is. Oh, you can wait. My thoughts going through this.
I was
is
about to
like,
say, just like for some context, DC was saying they were playing Texas before the show.
Yeah, I didn't do my research enough, but they're playing Auburn now. I've got that down, and I'm going with going to Arkansas because I look at their last games. Obviously, they got blown out by Bama. What was it, like 41-0? I obviously like Bama was really good. I kind of expect that because they bring a lot of hype.
Yeah,
but I look at their
Georgia,
last
Georgia.
game.
37-0.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
look at their last game versus Old Miss, where they lost by 1 because they went for the 2-point conversion and it failed. I mean, that game could have went either way if they keep the extra point. I mean, obviously they lost because they did take the chance, but Arkansas is still a pretty good team. And then look at Auburn, what they're doing, and they're not really doing much. Bo Nix hasn't really broke out as he should be.
Bo Nix is
Auburn
one of
has a-
those guys that's been there forever and just will never break out. He's like Adrian Martinez. They both have been there forever and they play like freshmen.
Sadly, I kind of want to compare him to Sean Clifford, who's just been here the whole time. But yeah, but I mean, yeah, Bo Nix, he hasn't done anything special. And Auburn kind of relies on the defense a lot. So I think Arkansas minus 3.5, where we can get it at by a point, I'd take it.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna fade that because fade DC is 2-0.
You heard
this
it here
week.
first. Fade of the week.
Yeah,
so
fade him.
we
He's
got
2-0
it.
fading him. I also do want to note in that game, another thing that might hit is the under. Both teams love to run the football, so it could slow the game down, long drives, or it could be big chunk plays. Both teams are pretty good against the run. Arkansas, I forget the name of their running back, but he's really good. And then Tank Bigsby and Javante. Shoot, I forget his name. Tank Bigsby and the other guy are the 2 of the top 5 rated running backs in the SEC per Pro Football Focus. So a lot of running there. So I like the under, but yeah, we'll be sure to fade DC this week. That's the way
Maybe,
it goes.
please.
Until it doesn't work, we're gonna fade them. I think you guys should too. Or tail them if you're feeling real risky.
Yeah, man. That's what I'm feeling, man. Good old tail. And maybe it worked out. Maybe your first lock of the week, tail him for one time. Come on now.
I mean,
Alright.
I'd hope you tail your own picks.
No. After the podcast, I do my fucking the opposite.
All right, boys. It's been fun. Appreciate you coming on, being a special guest this week, Dylan.
No problem. Anytime.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got this week. We'll keep you updated. We'll be back next week to let you know how our picks did. Yeah, hopefully I turn it around. Hopefully Garv stays pretty steady here. And then hopefully DC shows us that we got to invite him back next week. So,
Yeah,
all right,
I'm
everyone.
on board.
All right, everyone. That's it for Down the Stretch. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And please gamble responsibly. Have a good one.